Hello aspirants. So today we'll look at a very important topic and which is a very popular topic, that is electric vehicles. So with respect to electric vehicles, government had previously come up with the FAME policy, FAME 1 and FAME 2 policy. So what is FAME 2 policy? FAME 2 is about faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. So government is pushing for electric vehicles. So government has also come up with PLI scheme for batteries. So what is PLI scheme? Production linked incentive schemes for advanced chemistry cell batteries. So these electric vehicles, you would have been seeing that the market or market share of the electric vehicles among all types of passenger vehicles or your commercial vehicles, the market share of electric vehicle is slowly increasing. So in this small video, let us just try to understand what is EV, why there is buzz around EV, and we generally believe that EVs or electric vehicles are only of battery operated electric vehicles, but EVs are of two types. So one is known as battery operated electric vehicle and the another is hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. So what is hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle? So in this, hydrogen is being used to produce electricity, and few months back, if you remember, our transport minister had used a Toyota Mirai. So that was a hydrogen fuel cell based electric vehicle which he used to go to the parliament. So he wanted to showcase that the future also lies among EVs, even among EVs it also lies among your hydrogen fuel cell. So we'll compare, we'll try to see how what are battery electric vehicles and what are hydrogen fuel cells. So what is the similarity, what is the difference between them? We'll try to develop an understanding of these vehicles, these electric vehicles. So electric vehicles, broadly what we are saying, that they can be classified into two types. What is an electric vehicle? How is it different from our conventional vehicles? So the propulsion system means what drives the car or vehicle. So the propulsion system in case of our conventional cars was IC engine. IC engine stands for internal combustion engine. So the internal combustion engines were either petrol based or diesel based. But in electric vehicles, we are not using these conventional engines, we are using a motor. So these motors are driven by electricity. That electricity could be stored in the battery or that electricity could be produced as and when required, as in case of hydrogen fuel cell. So electric vehicle is essentially we are using electricity to propel the motors and that drives the vehicle. So electric vehicles, as we are saying, they are of two types. So electric vehicles are of two types. One is known as battery electric vehicle and the other is known as fuel cell. Here we will talk about hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. So let us first try to understand this battery electric vehicle. So in a battery electric vehicle, what is the idea? That we'll be using battery. So in this slide you can see that we are using some renewable source. So through renewable source we are generating electricity. That electricity is stored in the batteries. So in the car you have the batteries placed at the lowermost region. So here you have the batteries. So that electricity is stored in the battery and that stored electricity is used to drive the vehicle. So nowadays the batteries, which type of batteries are we mostly using? So nowadays mostly we are using what is called as the lithium ion based batteries. So we are relying mostly on lithium ion based battery. So why are we relying only on lithium ion based battery? Because compared to the traditional batteries, so if you look at the lead acid batteries which we used earlier, so lead acid batteries, so compared to that lithium ion batteries, they have a very high energy density. So lithium ion based batteries, they can store more electricity. They provide quite constant current. Also, the self-discharging issue in case of your lead acid batteries is not present here. So, because of these features, so it is used in our electric vehicles. Another advantage of using lithium based battery is that they have very high life. So, if you look at the lead acid batteries, so we say batteries have cycles. So, one cycle is one charging and discharging. So, one complete cycle of charging and discharging accumulates to one charge or one cycle. In case of lead acid batteries, the life is around 400 cycles only, but in case of lithium based batteries, the cycle, these number of cycles is more than 5000 times also. So, the life is also more, energy density is more, self discharging problem is not there. So, because of these uniqueness, we are utilizing lithium to build our batteries. So, most of the electric vehicles that you are seeing on streets nowadays and that you will see in near future also are mostly lithium battery based. But with respect to lithium battery based also, there are some concerns or there are some problems. For a country like India, traditionally we were depending on what? We were depending on oil. So, with respect to oil, we were importing oil. Now, with respect to lithium, India does not have sufficient quantity of lithium. So, to make batteries which are lithium based, we will have to depend now again on other countries. So, there are these South American countries which are known as lithium triangle countries like Argentina, Bolivia and Chile. So, they are having the 50% of the global lithium reserves. So, we will have to now depend on them to build our batteries. So, this is a major concern with respect to battery operated electric vehicle. So, we are trying to find also an alternative with respect to your battery based electric vehicle. Can we use other method to get an electric vehicle? So, the answer is yes, that there is another method which is known as the fuel cell method. So, in fuel cell, what are we doing? So, now we are talking about the hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. So, here in hydrogen fuel cell, we said that we are not storing electricity, we are producing electricity as and when required. So, why we are calling it as hydrogen fuel cell? So, we are calling it as hydrogen fuel cell because we are using hydrogen as an input material. So, using hydrogen and oxygen, we are able to produce electricity. So, let us just try to see and understand this hydrogen fuel cell. So, if you look at the hydrogen fuel cell design, so from one end we are passing what? Hydrogen gas. From one end we will pass hydrogen gas and excess hydrogen gas will be removed out. Excess hydrogen gas will be removed out. So, this material is a catalyst. So, this material is a catalyst. What is the role of this catalyst? So, what is this catalyst doing? So, it will break down hydrogen into H plus and its electron. So, it will make hydrogen into ionized form. So, we will get what? H plus and electrons. So, let us see the electrons. These H plus, so this is a membrane, this is known as a proton membrane. This is a proton membrane, this is a selective membrane. This is a selective membrane. So, it will allow only the H plus to pass through, but it does not allow the electron to pass through. So, the electron is now forced to pass in this direction. It is forced to pass in this direction, and from this end we are passing oxygen, and any excess oxygen will pass out from here. And what will happen? These electrons will go and attach to oxygen. Oxygen being electronegative, it will accept the electrons. So, here you will get O minus, and what is happening? The H plus will travel through the proton membrane and will combine with oxygen to give us water. So, what is electricity? Electricity is just flow of electrons. So, we are able to get the flow of electrons, and the output that we are getting here is H2O, that is water. So, in a hydrogen fuel cell, we are saying that the input is hydrogen and oxygen, and they are able to produce electricity, and we are able to get output as your H2O. So, these hydrogen fuel cells are very effective in tackling some of the issues that we are facing in the case of battery electric vehicle. So here again the system is same, only that we are using electricity to drive the motor, but here we are producing electricity as and when required. So if we compare now these two, hydrogen fuel cells and the battery electric vehicles, so they both are obviously electric vehicles, but what is the uniqueness about both of them? So if you look at the uniqueness about this, so hydrogen fuel cells, so since we are using hydrogen as a fuel, we do not need what charging time. So we do not have to charge it for 7-8 hours, or let us say even using fast charger, we do not have to invest time in charging the battery. In case of hydrogen fuel cell, it is just like filling the CNG. So we'll go to the petrol stations and we'll have hydrogen stations and we'll fill the hydrogen and we'll be ready to go. So the issue of range anxiety that we see in case of battery electric vehicles will not be there in case of the hydrogen fuel cell. So the range anxiety problem is solved, and also we will not need exclusive charging infrastructures as in case of battery electric vehicles. What we can do is that for fuels hydrogen, we can upgrade the existing petrol or your diesel network. So they can be upgraded without any additional cost. So we will need some incremental cost only. So the existing network can be utilized. That is another advantage. And also with respect to battery electric vehicle, so if with respect to battery electric vehicle and with respect to this, so here because we are using a battery, after some time the battery will degrade or it starts to age, and after some time we'll have to replace the battery. So replacement cost is high in case of battery operated electric vehicle. And also that battery that we have got, so we now need to dispose it. So disposal of your lithium based battery will also be environmentally damaging, because we are using some heavy metals along with lithium like nickel and cobalt. So they will become challenging with respect to recycling. In case of hydrogen fuel cells, we need not worry too much about recycling, because they are just like the conventional engines that we need to just fill in the hydrogen and we can run these hydrogen fuel cells for very long. So that is one of the biggest advantage of this. And also in case of hydrogen fuel cell, what we are saying that the input material, what is the raw material in hydrogen fuel cell? The raw material is hydrogen itself. So hydrogen is quite abundant in nature. So as a country like India, we won't have to be dependent on other countries for lithium, for oil. So we can get hydrogen from many sources. Hydrogen is considered to be a versatile gas. So hydrogen is present in methane, it is present in coal, it is present in oil, it is present in gas, it is even present in water. So nowadays you would be also hearing about that we can get hydrogen from electrolysis of water. So when we get hydrogen from electrolysis of water, that is called as green hydrogen, and the electricity that is used to get green hydrogen is electricity derived from a renewable source. So that is the advantage with respect to hydrogen fuel cell, that we have abundant hydrogen. In fact, every country has abundant hydrogen, so they won't have to depend on other countries for energy security, and this can revolutionize not only our transportation sector but also the entire energy sector. So that is the advantage of your hydrogen fuel cells. Now let us look at what are the similarities then. So what is the future then? Should we rely only on hydrogen fuel cells or should we rely on battery electric vehicles? So in some scenarios, battery electric vehicles they fare better than the hydrogen fuel cells. So for shorter distances we can use battery electric vehicles, but for longer distances and for commercial purposes we can use these hydrogen fuel cells. The issue of range anxiety is tackled here. So for transportation sector, where we have to continuously keep running the buses and the trucks, so in that sector we can use hydrogen fuel cells, or for transporting very heavier equipments we can use hydrogen fuel cells. So that is the advantage of hydrogen fuel cell. So in future we would need a combination of both these technologies to run the electric vehicles. Now, with respect to electric vehicles, there was some news also a few months back that some of the electric vehicles, they were catching fire. So, some of the famous electric vehicle manufacturers also they were reprimanded by the government and also by the media and also by people that the electric vehicles are not very reliable. Electric vehicles are costly, and when we are using them, they are catching fire. So, concern had developed with respect to two vehicles or two-wheeler electric vehicles. So, why were these electric vehicles catching fire? Let us just try to understand that also. So, so we have said that we are using lithium based electric vehicles nowadays. So, the two-wheelers that we are using, and in those two-wheelers electric vehicle, we are mostly using lithium based electric vehicle. What is the problem with respect to the lithium based electric vehicle in two-wheeler is that since the energy density of lithium is very high, so that is an advantage also, but that can be a disadvantage also. Why? Because if it becomes unstable, so it becomes unstable in certain scenarios, under certain conditions and under certain temperature, like in elevated temperatures, like in case of India. So, we have a higher temperature compared to other countries. So, because of that, the battery becomes unstable and the battery catches fire. So, this is known as thermal runaway. So, what is thermal runaway? So, battery heats up, and when a fire starts, so we are not able to stop it, it follows a chain reaction and starts burning. One of the biggest reason is the energy density of the lithium itself, that is the culprit. The other reason cited is in every electric vehicle we have what is known as battery management system. We have a battery management system, BMS. So, we have battery management system, it is the software. What is the role of this software? It is the software which keeps checking the health of the battery. So, it has to monitor the health of the battery. So, during charging, during discharging, so it keeps on monitoring the health of the battery. So, the robustness of this battery management system or this software also determines that how we are able to prevent electric fires in the electric vehicles. So, if we have well developed or well designed these battery management systems, they can give early warning to the users that the battery has heated up or it might catch fire. So, we need to take preventive measures. So, since the electric vehicles that came in India, so they were not rigorously tested, so the battery management system was not properly developed, or they were in trial phase or they were in beta phase. So, this was also a problem. And also with respect to, because there is a craze for electric vehicles, so many manufacturers jumped into developing electric vehicles without rigorous testing and without going for standardizations of the battery methods and procedures of making the battery and packing the battery and placing the battery in the vehicle. So, because of that also, because of the poor designing also, we saw these incidents of electric vehicles catching fire. So, these are some of the major reasons why electric vehicles were catching fire. But government is still pushing ahead with respect to electric vehicles. Why? Because we want to reduce our dependence not only on oil and gas, but we also want that we are concerned about climate change. And the biggest reason for climate change is the production of carbon dioxide because of usage of our oils and gases. And with respect to oil and gas, India imports around 85% of oil. So, because of that, our import bill is very high. So, government wants to reduce that also, and government wants to fight climate change also. So, one of the best solution is by electrifying our transportation sector. So, the best answer in that scenario is going for EV. But in EV also we are facing these challenges and issues. So, we have come up with both battery operated electric vehicle and your hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. But in hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle, the challenge that we are facing here is that how do we get a sustainable source of hydrogen or green hydrogen. So, with respect to getting green hydrogen, so we know that green hydrogen we can get from electrolysis of water, but for doing electrolysis of water, we need to add some salts in water, because water is not a good conductor of electricity. So, if we add salt, that process becomes inefficient. So, we have to develop some electrolytes that can improve the efficiency of the electrolysis of water. So we are trying to find solutions to all these type of problems. So government has come up with PLI scheme. So PLI scheme for production of your electrolytes, for production of electrolytes for advanced chemistry cells, for fuel cells also it can be utilized. So government is pushing through the FAME policy. So these are some of the steps, and for hydrogen fuel cells, government has tied up or it has signed MOU with Bolivia and Argentina. Government has also set up CABIL, that is a PSU, which will procure some of the strategic metals needed for our domestic manufacturers. So with all of these efforts, the government is giving a push to the electric vehicle sector. So hope this video was helpful to you all. So we'll see you in next video. Thank you.